So continuing on with the Mythic Shards coverage I've been doing all this month, or last month and this month, we are covering the 4-color setting for Mythic Shards, or Shard as it were. It's essentially a separate game setting for Scion, instead of being the children of gods who are sort of like in this urban mythology setting. You are now the children of gods pretending, or inheritors of godlike power, who are pretending to be superheroes because everything happened in the 1930s, and in order for people to become better equipped to deal with Scions existing and all the gods existing, they had to take on the role of superheroes. So you have the setting itself starts when Zeus died and fell upon Washington, D.C., as he was killed by Apep, also known as Anubis. And then we have this splinter of the basically pantheons. It's not Titans versus gods. It is now the good gods, usually through the Society of Justice, and then the bad gods that are called the Axis of Evil. So now we have Science have sort of taken on the mantle of superheroes and villains. And then you also have stuff like superhumans who are created through like these serums created from like the blood of gods and blood of demigods and heroes in order to turn normal people into scions. And then the setting itself, it seems to be set in like the 1930s to 70s era. I'm a little fuzzy on that because Zeus fell around the 1930s. I wonder if you could do a setting similar to, if you remember, the animated Superman and Batman TV shows. They were very much this futuristic, this retro futuristic aesthetic of like, it looks very Art Deco, but people are using laser guns for some reason. In any case, it's heavily inspired by the Silver and Golden Age of comics. You have things like Superman, Batman, all those things, as well as stuff probably akin to like the Batman TV show of the 1960s, as well as a little bit more pulpy things if you want, of like maybe the Shadow or the Phantom, if you recall those. But the real purpose is people have, these scions have essentially masks of, or secret identities as superheroes. Mechanics wise, the system is set in hero and god and demigod tier levels. There is a god tier level, but instead of it being you playing as a single character, you're actually playing as multiple characters within a superhero group. This basically means that you have like 5 or 6 characters who are in this group that are demigods or heroes. And it is suggested that you have one of the heroes or demigods take the role of the mouthpiece for the group, so that you don't have to have your superheroes talking to each other constantly, because that could be confusing. And there's a suggestion of doing crossover events, which is essentially taking multiple superhero teams, god tier superhero teams, and mixing them together to form things like like the Avengers movie or the Avengers Infinity War specifically. Character creation, you have the hero tier, which is hero tier changes are your maximum attribute and skills are increased to 6 instead of 5. And you get a +1 to the dots you can spend on your primary, secondary, and tertiary attributes and skills. Demigod is similar in that the maximum attribute of skills, attributes, and skills are increased to 6, as well as you get to allocate 3 additional dots to your birthrights. You get 3 more boons, 2 more knacks. Your legend is 5, or I think I read that right. You get a +1 to your injury level. Additionally, your stats get boosted as well. So your starting like primary, secondary, and tertiary attribute bonuses are a lot higher, 8, 6, 4. And then the skills, it's a little bit tough for me like to say the numbers for that, because but you get a lot more skills. I think it was like each one of your skills in a that you get from your paths is like set to max or something. In any case, additional mechanic that you're going to have are signature boons. These are an ability that only 1 or 2 characters in the world have that you know of. It's essentially a unique ability that is usually shared by characters who are close allies, family members, rivals, or even nemesis. So, for instance, if you had like Superman versus Zod, they both share the same set of powers because they have a shared origin of Krypton. Then you have, as far as the mechanical benefits of that go, your scales increase by 1 for that specific boon, and you can use it without spending or imbuing legend, but you can only have 1 signature boon. So no, you can't take multiple signature boons and have all the superpowers. Characters and locations that exist in this setting are very interesting to me. There are a lot of characters, by the way. This probably has the most characters and some of the most interesting like example plot hooks or like adventures that I really like them. You should definitely check out this manuscript when it comes out to the Mythic Shards backer kit, but you can check the link down below when if you want to support it. I think you can support it for around $5 and get access to the manuscripts immediately. There'll be a thing down below here if I'm wrong. In any case, the key players we have are the Society of Justice. I mentioned them earlier. These are the good guys. They are actually a mixture of a bunch of different allied superhero groups as well. But the main Society of Justice has Captain Lightning, who is a Thor-based Scion, who has a Hammer of Thor, the Mjolnir. Then you have Silverheart, who's the son of Aphrodite, who basically used his charisma powers to help form the society. You have Jetfire, who is a troublemaking speedster who has the powers of Susanoo, Kami of the Sea and Storms. Amber Phoenix, who is a reincarnation of, and I'm going to probably butcher this name, but Nan Fong Zhu Kui, who is a reincarnation of that god after she was killed by the evil god Apep. They have this reincarnated god in their body and are trying to deal with the fact that sometimes that god takes control of them to do actions and things of that nature. And then we have Lady Grimm, who is your turncoat superhero, who used to work for Apep, but has since joined the good guys. She also has powers to control shadows. I'm getting Gamora vibes a little bit, and that's really like when you look at this setting, you should be looking at it sort of through, or at least I'm looking at it through a lens of like the godlike characters in other superhero genre shows, like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Star-Lord is a godlike, or is the son of a godlike character. You have Wonder Woman and Thor, who are godlike beings in their own settings, and then you have the new gods in DC who are also godlike. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, or over all around the place. There are several locations that are called out specifically. I'm not going to go over all of them because this is getting a little bit too long at this point, but one of my favorite ones that was mentioned was Stabby Alley, which seems like a parody of Crime Alley from Batman. It's where Batman's parents were killed, and you're always like, why did they go down into Crime Alley and not expect to be mugged? In any case, then you have the Axis of Evil and other antagonist groups. The antagonists that get called out specifically, I'm really excited. I really like these. There's Electrovore, who's a woman who has a piece of Thor's hammer, not the whole hammer. The whole hammer is with Captain Lightning, but she has just a little slither of it, and it gives her the ability to absorb electricity and even nullify it. So she's like the counterpoint to Captain Lightning. There's Armadillo Man, who sort of answers the question of what would happen if the guy who made that anti-bear armor suit was given powers by Ares. There's Dr. Arcturus, who's a genius with a whole entire army of robot automatons. I'm getting a lot of Dr. Doom vibes here. And then you have a Cackling Crawler, who is a caterpillar, looks like a caterpillar wearing a clown costume. I think they say it's like a caterpillar smocked in a clown costume, but they are essentially a agent of chaos that no one really knows what they're doing, and has a lot of like Joker vibes to me. You have Captain Abyssal, who's the ruler of the ocean. They have like their own island kingdom that they rule, kind of like the Submariner or Aquaman. And then you have Apep, who's the god of death. And they are the only god tier character, I think, in this book that at least gets a stat block. This character essentially, or Apep themselves, has an entire army of alien soldiers that they've conquered in the past, and they have a battleship known as Asteroid X. Gives me a lot of Thanos vibes, just because Thanos is also kind of death coded in the comics. It's sort of like sold to me, or at least I think I could use this for like combining basically this with Trinity Continuum Aberrant, as they both give me like similar feels for like how the characters act, since they're both like comic book character type settings. But I would definitely say that Trinity Continuum definitely leans more heavy away from the 4-color aesthetic of like Silver and Golden Age, unless you want to do that. I mean, you're the story guide at that point. You can like change the setting however you feel. And Trinity Continuum Aberrant actually did have a 4-color setting, which was awesome. And 4-color itself is a term that is used to describe comic book aesthetics, especially those of like the Golden Age of and Silver Age of comics. In any case, thank you so much for watching. This has been about 12 minutes so far. And if you want to check out some more of the Scion stuff, I have a playlist now of all the Scion stuff I've been doing for the channel, so please check that out. Additionally, if you like Mage the Awakening, I am doing a Mage the Awakening actual play on my Patreon, and just for $1, you can watch what is currently up.